Are you in the market for a truly gaming capable 2-in-1 laptop? Well, let's see if the Surface Book 2 is worth buying. Hi, this is Stephen from Owner Disown. Now first I would like to thank you all for helping me surpass 7,000 subscribers. With getting laid off and starting a new job, it has been a bit of a roller coaster journey for me, but I'm glad that you guys have actually stuck with me throughout it. So I would like to do my game giveaway. Many of you will know the drill already, but if you are new to my channel, all you have to do is spot the geek, this geek here, hidden in the video, and tell me the time frame in which he is in. So for example, if it's 10 minutes, 20 seconds, just let me know that. Now, the first person to email me, not in the comments, but email me at the address in the description, the time frame wins a game of your choice up to about $50 value. Now the game should be either on Steam or G2A. Now once there is a winner, I'll pin a comment in the descriptions there so you'll know. Okay, so now moving on to the Surface Book 2. There's a 13.5-inch available with a GTX 1050, but today I'm looking at the 15-inch that starts at the bargain basement price of $2,500. Yep, that's a lot of money for the base model, which is the one I actually have here. Now all models have a quad-core i7-8650U CPU, which is a 15-watt part with a base frequency of 1.9 GHz, and it turbos up to 4.2. It has hyper-threading, so the operating system will actually see 8 threads. We will see how it actually gets on against the Yoga 720 15-inch with an i7-7700HQ CPU, and in gaming against the Aorus X3 V7. Now for that price, you only get a 256GB SSD, which personally I think is very tight. 16 gigs of RAM, GTX 1050 graphics card with 6GB of RAM, and for those that have not had a Surface Book, you know, it must be one of the most finely crafted Windows machines I have used. And I had the previous generation and I loved it. This looks just the same, but you know, it's just bigger. Now it's made out of magnesium, which is 1/3 the weight of aluminium. At 4.26 pounds or 1.93 kilos, it is lighter than the 15-inch Yoga 720, and to be fair, not far off the smaller Aorus X3. It commands quite a small footprint too, quite a bit less than the Yoga 720, and it's comparable in thickness at its hinge point, with a nice taper to the front. In fact, at the hinge, it is about 1 inch thick, and of course, due to the fulcrum nature of the hinge, there is a gap, but you know, I never got anything stuck in there. Now, due to its 3 to 2 aspect ratio, it is a little bit deeper than the Yoga, but at 25 centimeters, it's perfectly fine. The tablet portion is easily removed with a press of a button, and you know what? This seems much more reliable and quicker than the first generation. And replacing the tablet, you know, is just as easy. The tablet alone weighs 1.1 pounds or half a kilo, and it is comfortable to hold. Even taking a photo using the rear 8-megapixel camera is easy. It can use HDR, it's got quick autofocus, and it produces 1080p video. The only downside is that there are no ports on the tablet to take the photographs off. You know, I would have quite liked to have seen an SD card reader on the tablet portion. That being said, it does have more ports on the base. On the left-hand side, there are 2 USB 3 ports and an SD card reader, and on the right-hand side, there is the charging port, which can also be used to attach the Surface dock, and it has a single USB 3.1 Type-C port. Now, for $2,500, I find it ridiculous that this is not a Thunderbolt 3 port. What were they thinking? Microsoft claims 17 hours of video watch time, which I suspect must be based on using airplane mode, because the max I got streaming YouTube was 10 hours. And if I use an external display, that went up to 11 hours 50 minutes. The tablet itself gave 3 hours 27 minutes, which I thought was pretty good. But considering the Surface Book 2 has 2 batteries, I was hoping it would last a little bit longer than my Yoga 720, which got just over 7 hours. And you know what? That costs about half the price. And it also has a Thunderbolt 3 port. There has been much report about battery drain whilst gaming, and I played Tomb Raider for 5 hours unbalanced, had the power slider all the way to the right for max performance, and the battery stayed fully charged, but it did start to drop once I started putting Cinebench on in the background. Power from the wall was around about 95 watts or so it was pretty close to the 102 watt power brick. So I then enabled turbo power boost and overclocked the graphics card, and after an hour the battery dropped to 70%. So there is definitely a chance your battery might deplete. Microsoft, to be honest, should have introduced a larger power brick without a doubt, especially considering that you can charge things from the inbuilt USB port on the power brick. Now, performance in games, as you will see, was not negatively impacted. As you can see, the screen itself uses about 2 hours worth of the battery, and that is because it is really, really bright. It's perfect to use outside, despite its reflective display. The panel is made by LG, and as you can see, it's nearly as bright as the Yoga 720 max brightness, and this is at only its 50% level. Unfortunately, its color accuracy wasn't that great. Compared to the 4K display on the Yoga 720, it is slightly worse, which is a shame, considering that this is aimed at those that want to use it for creativity work. It certainly boots up pretty quickly, and the Windows Hello camera works much, much better than the first generation. Often in the first generation, I would be constantly adjusting the screen to get a good fix, but it works even well in the dark. The keyboard feels just the same as the last time, and according to Microsoft, it has a key travel of 1.5 millimeters. The trackpad is great. It's actually one of the best I have used. It's very responsive, and of course, you have the touchscreen, which is equally as responsive. The keys are backlit, white only, but that's okay because it keeps with its professional image, and it has 3 different brightness levels. The system feels snappy and doesn't have much bloatware. All it's got is like Minecraft, mixed reality stuff, and the usual Office and Skype apps. Now, let's not forget about this pen, which is actually probably one of the main reasons why you might probably buy this. The pen attaches to the left-hand side by a very strong magnet, and it feels stronger than the last generation pen. Shaking it, it doesn't fall off, and even if it takes a slight knock, it's still pretty secure. Now, unfortunately, the pen is a separate purchase of $99, which I think is a rip-off. It should be included, and fortunately, I already had the original pen that works just fine. The newest pen has 4,196 levels of sensitivity and comes in 5 different colors. Writing notes is smooth and fast, as is also sketching. And of course, the rear of the pen is used as an eraser, which I really, really like. You can use a tablet by itself or attach it to the base in reverse. Now, what differentiates the 15-inch Surface Book from the rest is that it has a GTX 1060 graphics card in it. This is a huge boost from what you'll see in the Yoga 720, which has a GTX 1050. But how is it cooled? There are no vents underneath. All you have is venting cleverly hidden in front of the screen, and that's for the base, and that houses the GTX 1060. And around the edge of the tablet portion, there's some vents there to cool the CPU. On the base, hot air is expelled out the left and right-hand side of the vent, and cool air is drawn in through the middle. One good advantage of this design is that cooling isn't blocked off when it's on your lap or on a bed. But once that screen is closed, the cooling system cannot work, and this GPU throttles big style. So if you're playing on an external display, you must have that screen open. Otherwise, your frame rate will come crashing down. The fan noise is very quiet. At idle, I cannot hear it. And at load, it maxed out at 35 decibels. You can hear it for sure, but it's considering the hardware inside, it's not bad at all. It has 2 speakers, one either side of the tablet portion, facing outwards. They are surprisingly pretty good at about 72 decibels. Okay, not as loud as the Yoga 720, but they're good enough. So a 1080p webcam or 5 megapixel front-facing camera. So this is what it looks and sounds like. So how does it perform? First off, the only option is balanced with a performance slider. Now, by enabling CS enabled in the registry, you can get the high performance and power saver options back. But note, I did my tests using high performance, and my results were definitely less than they were using the balanced profile. So I suggest you just stick with balanced. Since the i7-8650U CPU is a 15-watt part, it doesn't maintain a high turbo boost for that long out of the box, as it tries to stay within that 15-watt envelope. So I use throttle stop to increase its performance. First, I clicked on Fiverr and set the turbo ratio limits to 42 and undervolted the core and cache by 91 millivolts. I then clicked on TPL and changed the package power limit to 45 and reduced the PPO turbo limit to its minimum to try and keep it at its max turbo speed as long as possible. So in my Handbrake test, where I convert a 4 GB movie file to MP4, it took the Surface Book 54 minutes out of the box. But enabling the turbo tweak, it brought it down to 48 minutes 44 seconds. This made it closer to the Yoga 720's i7-7700 HQ. That took just less than 45 minutes. Still, out the box, performance is slow. Let's look at Adobe Lightroom. Here I convert 50 photos to a slideshow. Again, out the box, the Surface Book was slower than the i7-7700 HQ, but enabling the turbo boost tweak, that really did help. The final CPU test is Cinebench, and out the box we get 665 points, and enabling the turbo boost tweak, it actually matched the i7-7700 HQ. One thing to note though, this and the Lightroom test are quite short tests. So if you're doing something it's long, like it's video rendering type test, then the CPU performance will go down. So let's examine the CPU performance, both in balance mode and with the turbo tweak. So temperatures were similar, but still pretty high at about 91 degrees or so. There was no throttling, but considering that doing the turbo tweak increases the power, the undervolt kept it pretty well in check, and with only an increase of 2 watts. Of course, you can just do the undervolt and lower the temperatures. Looking at gaming, the CPU averaged 87 degrees Celsius at stock, and with the tweak, the undervolt helped bring it down to about 83 degrees. The power usage stayed the same at about 27 watts, but the average frequency of the CPU did increase by 7%. Unfortunately, this tweak didn't result in any extra frame rates. You get more benefit by doing an overclock on the graphics card. During gaming, the GPU was pretty cool. It averaged 77 degrees Celsius with an average power of 76 watts. So on to my gaming results. I ran at stock settings and with the GPU overclocked. I overclocked the core by 190 MHz and the memory by 253 MHz. So let's see what we get. In Rise of the Tomb Raider 1080p, near max settings, the game would get some graphical artifacts, only in some scenes, and the occasional driver error. Although, to be fair, on the most part, it played fine. The Surface Book is about 10% behind the other GTX 1060 notebooks, but overclocking it brought it back into line. As a comparison, the Yoga 720 gets about half the performance. Battlefield 1, 1080p max settings, the game played really well. We actually get a better performance than the Aero 15, which is great. It couldn't beat out the Aorus X3 with its much faster CPU, but still 64 FPS is great. Note that playing at its default resolution at Ultra is a no-go. You will likely have to drop down settings to medium. The Yoga 720 again gets about half the frame rate. Finally, Doom at Ultra settings, 1080p, the game played perfectly. And as you can see, it again beat the Aero 15 and was a match for the Aorus X3. This is a fantastic performance. You have to give credit to Microsoft for making a lightweight 2-in-1 with pen support that can also game as well as any GTX 1060 notebook out there. Temperatures while gaming were fine, as most of the load is on the GPU, and the separate cooling systems for the CPU and the graphics shows other notebook makers how it should be done. Things change a bit though when you do other tasks such as video encoding or rendering. The CPU is going to get hot. Without an undervolt and without the turbo power tweak, performance is not there compared to, say, the Yoga 720 with the i7-7700 HQ. Applying the tweak increases performance, but at the expense of a little bit more power and a little bit more temperature. But I think it is, to be fair, a good trade-off. The battery drain issue is there, but only when it's on extreme load. But I do hope Microsoft do come out with a larger power brick. The screen is lovely. It's bright, and perhaps it's not the best for color accuracy, but I imagine most artists would be just okay, and the pen works great. My biggest caveat is the price. At $2,500, the cost of entry is really, really steep, including just a paltry 256 GB SSD and no pen. To be fair, it is an insult. The model should be around $2,000 max, in my opinion. Should you buy it? Well, price aside, if you're an artist that likes the game, then I say yes. If you're a business traveler who takes notes and wants the game, then yes again. But in both cases, the Yoga 720 at half the price is my recommendation. If you're a gamer only, then it's a definite no. There are definitely cheaper options out there. And if you do not game at all, there are certainly definitely cheaper options out there. So anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.